All right, what is up, guys? I am back with another training session. Starting to get a little bit behind on these, so I might have a day like today or tomorrow or something where I end up uploading a couple training sessions in one day. But regardless of that, this is my training session from Friday, which I think was the 19th. This is my back and shoulder day. We've now moved this ahead of my hamstring day, so this is no longer the last day of the week. It's the second to last day of the week for me before my Sunday rest day. Total session time here, the tracking got messed up a little bit, but I think it was around like an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes. It's a bit of a longer session, and my sessions are also just getting longer in general as I start to try and take a little bit more active rest time between sets to recover before I go in and go all out in the next set. Something I'm trying to be mindful of and focus on. But this was a solid session. Let's see here. Starting out with single arm cable rows, lat biased, as always. 8 to 10 reps on the first two sets, that's the goal. 12 to 15 reps on the third set. So, dropped the weight down pretty significantly here, just to make sure I was really focusing on the form. You know, before I think I was cranking the weight a little bit too hard, and I was just losing out on a lot of the effectiveness of actually targeting my lat. More so putting a lot of my forearm into it, and just kind of using too much momentum. So dropping it down, taking a bit of a form reset, things felt really good. Again, the high-end goal here was only 10 reps, and I hit, the 110 pounds is what I have on the stack here. I hit 13 and then 12, and then I dropped it down to 95 and hit 17. So we hit the rep goal on every set here. This week, this will probably end up going up to just 115. I'm just going to start taking some really small incremental jumps here because I was taking some pretty big 10-pound jumps at one point and kind of almost forgetting that it was a single arm movement. And those 10-pound jumps really translate to like a 20-pound jump across the whole body. You know what I mean? It's more impactful to have a 10-pound single arm jump. Even though with like 145, I think I had on here last week, I could definitely get the movement complete. It didn't feel as good as this did. My form felt a little sloppier. It felt like more of a struggle in a bad way. You know, you want to struggle, you want it to be fucking hard, but it felt like an unnecessary struggle that wasn't really working the intended muscle in previous weeks. So dropping it down really helped. First two sets felt great. Third set felt great. Took a lot of extra volume there. I think last week I hit 95 for 15 on that third set. This week was 95 for 17. So next week that will go up to, next week, or I guess this week at the time I'm recording this, it'll go up to 115 on the first two sets and then 100 on that third set. So good progressions here, good increase. Even though I took a weight decrease on that top set, it's still a progression because the form drastically improved. So this felt really good, no complaints. I'm just going to let this play out and then we'll hop into the next movement. All right, and next movement for the day, this is going to be my T-bar row superset with Kelso shrugs at the end of the movement. Weight was the same here as last week, 145 on the top set, 135 on the second and third set. Rep goal is 10 to 15. We've taken the T-bar row out of my heavy session, which is my pull session, and we've kept it in for this higher rep range, lower total load. This feels a lot better to me. I just like this more. So took a progression here on this today, 145 for 17. I think last week was 145 for 15. So the weight will go up next week. Just going to do 5 pounds here, even though it's a heavier movement, a higher load, higher intensity movement. I'm still just going to jump up 5 pounds next week. So this will go up to 150. Second set, third set will stay the same next week, stay at 135. Those were 13 and 12 reps each. So still within the range, still felt really good, but I want to wait to move them up a little bit. But yeah, I'm starting to kind of feel a little more comfortable with this. Obviously, since we removed the heavier T-bar row day, I'm now sticking with just the neutral grip on my T-bar rows on this higher rep and lower load day. That feels better to me, being able to not load this movement so heavily. I feel like I'm less inclined to treat this like almost like a RDL, and kind of drive my hips forward to help move the weight up, which I have a habit of doing when it's too heavy, right? When I load this heavier and I'm working in like the 8 to 12 rep range, I have a habit of almost turning it into like a little bit of a hip hinge movement, just because of I think the way that I set up for it. But this felt better. Really happy with how it felt today, actually. Not a whole lot to work on here other than just continuing to focus on that kind of body position at the top, which I feel like is pretty good today. I'm happy with where it's at. You're not going to be, it's not like we're doing a pendlay row here. You're not completely bent over at the hips and rowing, right? It's a little bit more, it's a little closer to that when you're doing these chest supported, but since this isn't chest supported, being a little more vertical is all right, especially when I'm still hitting my rep targets and everything feels really good like it did here. And then my next movement, my lat biased landmine row. This is the second week of doing these, so still kind of adjusting to how I set up for these, trying some different stuff. Used a bench this week instead of the block that you see behind me, that silver, block. 50 pounds, same as last week for these, but the reps went up, hit 50 for 17 and then 50 for 16. Goal is 10 to 15, so these will go up next week. Probably going to try and take them up 10 pounds. We'll see how it feels. Might just do 5 to be safe. It didn't feel too terribly bad from a loading perspective. More or less, this is just fatiguing for me because of the position I have to get into to actually do the row. But it felt good otherwise. This is one of the ones I'm still kind of getting used to. I haven't done it previously. Now obviously it's in my routine, but it just wasn't before. I've never done them before. So it's a new movement for me. Feels a little bit different from what I'm accustomed to as far as single arm back work. When you're doing these with the dumbbell, it's a little bit of a different, obviously a very different grip, and it's also just a little bit of a different bar path when you're coming up. So we may end up swapping this out for dumbbell work. We might end up swapping it out for some single arm machine, like chest supported movements. I think probably more likely that we'll switch it for dumbbell, but for now it stays in. I'm going to give it probably 3 more weeks, maybe another month, see how I continue to progress with it, see how it feels, because I did take a progression from the first week to the second week. I think we added like 8 total reps across both sets. So happy with the progression, pretty happy with how it feels, just working on getting it dialed in a little bit more. Probably going to try like maybe a higher bench next week, just maybe move a bench over that I can rest on the back of and almost treat it more like a croc row, because that's a little bit more of a, it feels a little bit better on my back for me when I'm able to angle over like that. It's less like I'm using my stabilizers to actually kind of keep myself set up for the movement more than I'm actually working the intended muscle. But movement feels good. Happy to keep it in, keep trying new stuff. I like doing that, and it's nice to switch things up. I always try to keep things in once we've switched to them for at least 3 or 4 weeks, ideally like 6 weeks, even if they don't click right away. You're not always going to click right away with the movement. You have to try it out, run with it for a while, see how it feels, and if after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever, it's like, yeah, it's still just not there, switch it out for something or switch it out for something else that you just want to try and that fits the movement pattern you're trying to go with or stick with to target what you need to target, right? But yeah, this was a solid day for this movement, solid progression. I look at my notes and I rated this session as kind of being a little challenging. And I think I was kind of exhausted this day, but despite being kind of exhausted, everything felt good and looks good on paper. All the numbers progressed, everything moved up. So that's always really good to see. Even if it's a little bit of an exhausting day, having good progressions is always nice to look back on in hindsight, especially right after the session where you might be feeling like, oh, okay, that kind of sucked. It's like, no, it really didn't. Just kind of maybe, dragged a little bit. Everybody has those kind of days, right? But overall, the growth phase, the bulk is going well. Not really too many negatives that I'm coming across right now. Everything feels good. Food's going down easy. Training performance is great. I feel great. I'm the leanest I've ever been and the biggest I've ever been. The leanest I've ever been at this size. Let me put it that way. So feels really good. All right, moving into the shoulder portion of the session now with lateral raises, machine laterals. So I don't remember what the total progression I took here was. I want to say it was like 7.5 pounds. I think I went from like 117.5 up to 125 or something like that. But this top set here is 125 pounds. So 125 for 17, goal is 10 to 15. This top set will go up next week, but my second, third, and fourth set will all remain the same. Second set and third set were 112.5, and I got 13 reps and then 10 reps. My fourth set was 87.5 pounds, and I only got 10 reps. So, next week, this will go up on the top set. All three other sets will stay the same. I might even try bringing up that fourth and final set, and we'll see how I feel about that. I've thought about it just from the perspective of trying to keep it matched with the second and third set weight-wise, because I feel like that last set, it's not really the weight and the intensity that's getting to me, it's just the overall fatigue. So I feel like I could probably still get 10 reps with 10, 15 pounds more on that final set, but we'll see how it feels. Felt pretty good this week. No shoulder pain. Everything felt good. You can see I'm back to, I think I said this before, I'm not grabbing the handles, but I'm still kind of moving my arms around to whatever feels best on a set per set basis. Sometimes I have my arms, like my forearm flared out a little more, almost like closer to an elbow locked position. Right now, you see I have it kind of bent in and I'm just grabbing my straps a little bit. That feels good too. Sometimes I feel like I probably get a little bit more delt activation when I do it this way versus when I am just kind of locking my elbow out. So trying to stick with that, trying to keep that in mind when I'm doing this movement. Felt solid though. Good day for this. No complaints here. Left with a solid pump in the shoulders, so I'm happy with it. Yeah, not a whole lot more to say on this, so I'll let the last set or two play out here, and then we'll get into my shoulder press. All right, moving into my shoulder press for the day. As always, this movement's just a piece of cake for me. You can kind of see there that plate on there. We've got the gym pin in on this today, and we are moving 270. The stack is 260 on this, so we're now 10 pounds over the stack on this. We're at 270 on the first and second set. Hit 15 reps and 10 reps. And the goal for this movement is just 8 to 12. So again, that top set, blowing reps out of the water here. I don't think I've hit anything less than 15 reps in like 3 or 4 weeks on this now. So that feels really good. Third set, 145 pounds for 19, which was a 2-rep progression. That's my high rep set where I do 15 to 20 reps on this. So this progressed across all sets. Weight, reps, everything was good here. 270 for 15, 270 for 10, 145 for 19. Next week, we'll jump up to 275, so 275 for the first 2 sets, and I'm going to keep that third set at 145, try to hit like 21, 22 reps before we increase the weight there. That's just kind of a burnout set, and trust me, I feel it after that set. That's actually probably harder than these heavy sets, to be completely honest with you. But it feels good. So yeah, I mean, again, not a whole lot to say on this one. This one is just probably one of my most rapidly progressing movements. And it just goes to show, you don't need to slam your head against a brick wall to really progress sometimes. This is my only dedicated front delt work in the entire week. These 3 sets. outside of some front delt activation I get on my pressing movements on my push day, this is it for front delt work. So just going to goes to show that you can do a little bit less work really hard, and it still progresses just as well. Obviously we'd add more volume if I needed more front delt, but at this point I don't. It's not really an area we're focused on. I get plenty of work passively and just with that one movement in during the week, so not a big deal. All right, and then reverse pec deck, rear delt fly, whatever you want to call it. I think only got 1 set in on the video today. I think my camera died because it was a pretty long session. 110 for 16, followed by 90 for 17, 90 for 15, and 90 for 13. So next week, top set will stay the same, 110. I'd like to hit 17 before upping that, so I'm going to try and just get 1 or 2 more reps out of it. But the second set will go up to 95. Third set, I'll probably take the second, third, and fourth set up to 95, honestly. So do 110 and then 95 for the sets that follow that. But yeah, after this plays out, however many sets I end up getting in here, like I said, I think it's just 1. That'll be it for today, guys. Like I said, I'm trying to kind of get caught up on some of my uploads here. So you might see a day coming up here where I have like 2 videos, 2 training sessions in one day, just as I get caught up on things. But for now, until you see the next video, take it easy, guys.